welcome to tonight's Undaunted, bringing to the news untold stories. I am Oyi Okbala. Let's begin. In the heart of America, far from the burning villages and tortured cries of southern Cameroons, 3 U.S. citizens languish in a Missouri jail, caught in the crosshairs of global politics and Washington's dangerous silence, known as the Kansas City Three. Klaus Shi, Leonesto Langmi, and Francis Chinyi, these men have endured nearly 3 years in pre-trial detention, not for acts of violence, but for raising funds to defend their ancestral communities from extermination at the hands of President Paul Biya's brutal regime in the Cameroons. Their continued incarceration raises a chilling question. Has the U.S. Department of Justice become a tool for foreign dictators? Thousands of miles away, inside the suffocating walls of Yaoundé Central Prison, a different but equally harrowing story unfolds. Here, dozens of Ambazonian detainees, many held for over 5 years without trial, suffer in silence under a regime that recognizes neither justice nor humanity. One such prisoner, speaking anonymously, revealed a daily reality defined by fear, hunger, torture, and the complete erosion of legal rights. Their only crime? Daring to identify as Ambazonian in a state that sees their very existence as a threat. The parallels are impossible to ignore. From the prisons of Missouri to the torture chambers of Yaoundé, a grim alliance of power, politics, and profit has conspired to crush voices calling for freedom. As the Biden's administration turned a blind eye and perhaps even learned a hand, one must ask, is this the justice America stands for, or has Washington's morale and its compass been hijacked by foreign money and silent genocide? While we are asking these questions on tonight's Undaunted, we'll take a short break and come back for the headlines. Ambazonian war plunging South Cameroons into deliberate misery is the first report for tonight. Also tonight, we take the story of the tale of 2 towns, Dishang and Libialem roads, as both are not on the same lane. Voice of Ambazonian sends a message to the U.S. Department of Justice. Also tonight, we take a look at Ambazonian detainees languishing in La Republic to Cameroon dungeons, years of incarceration without trial. French Cameroon uses war aid to mask war atrocity in Ambazonia. Also tonight, French Cameroon's government's borders neglect fuels human trafficking in Buea. On the African scene, would head to Sudan, where Sudan's landslide tragedy having up to 1,000 people feared dead after a village buried in Darfur Mountains. While on the foreign scene, Afghanistan's earthquake death toll nears 1,500 as aid agencies warns of critical shortage. Now let's get the news in full briefings. A new report by an entity in French Cameroon has officially ranked Ambazonia, Savannah, and Midland zones as the second poorest regions compared to neighboring La République du Cameroon. The National Institute of Statistics revealed that 6 years of ongoing war have directly pushed the area into a state of extreme vulnerability with a staggering poverty rate of 66.8%, a figure that only scratches the surface of the systemic failures plaguing Ambazonia. And so the socio-economic devastation in the Ambazonia is far from an accident. It is a direct outcome of the Yaoundé's government's catastrophic mismanagement of the war. A brutal truth has been unveiled by a report by the INS based on its Exam 5 survey stating the Northwest, in quotes, has now fallen behind only the far north, a region similarly ravaged by years of unrest. Once relatively stable, the Ambazonian nation have seen their poverty rate skyrocket to 66.8%. This figure far surpasses the French Cameroon's national average. The relentless brutality defined by a grinding war between the colonial army and the ASA has systematically dismantled every pillar of local development. The population is caught in the crossfire of abuses from both army thugs and imposter and groups. This has forced them to endure widespread school closure, massive population displacement, the collapse of agricultural production, and the total paralysis of all commercial life. Beyond the economic toil, the zones are a microcosm of systemic failure. Residents live in constant fear of violence and extortion from military thugs. In Muyuka, French Cameroon soldiers at a military checkpoint have been documented torturing and extorting farmers and bike riders, seizing properties for exorbitant fines. Meanwhile, in Bamenda, the arbitrary killings of a teenager and a businessman has left residents fleeing about and abandoned and at the mercy of gunmen. The war has also crippled essential services. Teachers and their families are subjected to immense stress due to last-minute transfers, while residents have suffered from prolonged power outages, like the one in Buea, which has led to significant economic losses. While French Cameroon boasts of its aspiration for emergence, it is actively allowing the most defenseless population to sink even deeper into poverty and despair. This is highly sad. 66.8% poverty level, Savannah and the Midland Zone. Barrister Mbeseha, welcome to tonight's Undaunted.
Thank you once more for having me.
And so it's not like we do not know before now that the poverty level in Ambazonia has been low. Imagine in an environment where everyone, young graduates are either bike riders or trying to have a bar, where there are no companies, where the companies that are there are not even functional. How else will people make money? It's not like we do not know that the poverty level in Ambazonia since the war began, or even before the war began, has been highly poor. But 66.8% is drastically poor. And there is some other indication that it might even be lower because people struggle to feed. People do not have power. People do not have roads. So how are we even sure that 66.8% is not even on the high side as it relates to or in comparison to what we know and what we have seen from the reports so far coming from the home front?
Well, when we analyze the situation of Ambazonia, we have to put emphasis somewhere else. Because from the Yaoundé's point of view and other international reporters, they would tell you that Cameroon, what they call Cameroon, that includes Ambazonia, is totally poor, is totally underdeveloped. That might be true. But the case of Ambazonia is peculiar because without their roads, without their schools, without whatever thing they call government, what survived on our own since 1961. With the little that we could afford, that was okay because we could not change things. But came 2016 through today, they deliberately declared a war on the people, forcing the peaceful people of Ambazonia to move from their bases to become internally displaced of a war because of a war they did not cause. And so that has exacerbated our own situation, and we need to emphasize more on that. Because at the very least, the world at large, and other Cameroonians in particular, they acknowledge that there's a war in the so-called Northwest Southwest. What they don't agree, which they must agree, is that that war was caused by the government of Yaoundé. What they don't agree, which they must agree, is that that war will only be ended through that so-called government in Yaoundé. And so, what is going on in Ambazonia is peculiar, very, very peculiar. They say 64%. I think that is too low. If you're asking me, I will give it 80%. But even if we want to go by their own figures, they're 64%. That is dismal. Dismal, why? Because in the face of the war, the government has told the world, one, that normalcy is returning. They have gone to the world, two, to borrow money and to ask for help, financial help and otherwise. To do what? To reconstruct their so-called Northwest and Southwest. Reconstruct them from what? From the wounds of war, from the destruction caused by war. Peculiar because they have told us that normalcy has returned to normal. And here we are in 2025 with those figures not being given by us. We don't manufacture them. They are not even given by anybody but a stranger. That organization is not a Cameroonian organization. And so we have to give them credit for doing that good job. But again, the basic issue is, could any Ambazonian from north to south, east to west of Ambazonia ever claim to be normal in this sort of report? Is anybody, be it in Akwaya, be it in Funkankan, be it in Bamuso or anywhere else, can they ever claim to be that there's a normalcy there? Certainly not. Can they ever claim that's how the life should be? No, not that way. People can even say what they have. Not because they lack the roads, but because they can't even cultivate it because there's no way to do it. Why? Because in this pretext of war, the government has let loose trained, armed robbers to extort from the people, to extort from from people who even have nothing. I see from the picture you showed there, find people sitting there in military, people call them B with their whatever thing they carry along as military. They have occupied the streets, not to secure anybody, but to extort money from the people. These are trained extortionists. They created the situation. They are benefiting from it. You see them sitting there in those, and they are trying to protect the people. They protect nobody. Rather, they extort from you. And let me just give an example of what I saw this morning. From where I got it from Pigeon English News Fox, Pigeon English News Equinox in Douala. Public news. What happened? Somebody cries in Morioka, 10, 15 kilometers from Buea, that they have been adopted. Some people have adopted a car and taken the people to the bush. That provokes Cameroon. They have their military camps everywhere. They pump in soldiers there to Morioka. When they come to Morioka in their hundreds, what are they doing? They're sitting in the town. The report is that they have adopted some people to the bushes. They are not entering the bush to do for them. They are standing on the road, controlling vehicles that are moving peacefully, extorting money from people who are traveling peacefully. Not an attempt to even go rescue the people who are alleged to have been adopted. Also, after that, what would they say? They probably earn a mission warrant, mission allowance. They will take a risk allowance. For doing what? To add to what they extorted from the population right there. In Muyoka, this is life. It is not me saying it. And so the thing to pitch itself everywhere in Ambazonia. When you say something has happened to you, rather they do anything to investigate now, they come and extort money from you, they arrest whoever is passing by, they kill whoever they call, they suspect to be called Amba, as if the name Amba is a crime, and then they walk away and write a report that investigations are ongoing. As I've said many times before, as all of us know, which investigations, no results will ever come out. If you must announce an investigation, you must be able to announce the conclusion of that investigation. Up to this point, for 9 years, since I've been investigating, you mentioned Florence Ayafo and others there. You mentioned Wazizi and others that have killed. For 9 years, we have not had results of the investigations. Conclusion, they have inflicted this pain on us. Conclusion, our brothers and sisters, be they church goers, be they church officials, prelates, pastors, be they civil society who pretend to tell the world that normalcy has returned, they are lying to themselves. Something is wrong with them. Something is wrong with the situation. It is wrong with them. They choose to keep a blind eye. They choose to cooperate with the enemy to join this steal from us. Again, that is across Ambazonia. And nobody again should make a mistake to say that the north, the south, the east, they have the same problem. No, they don't have the same problem. Ours are wounds deliberately inflicted on us. For what? To punish these people so-called Ambazonians, to punish the people they describe as Anglophones, for ever raising a finger to resist their occupation. Just to ask for something moderate, like having them send their children to school, the school they like, having to go to court and defend themselves in their own language that they understand. They brought this visitation on us, which we should never accept. That's opened our eyes, which eyes are open today. And we said, no, no, enough is enough. We had enough of it. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha. I sincerely agree with you. I believe that it's actually higher, but we'll take a look and we'll continue to see how that report continues to, unfold. Meanwhile, in the heart of La Republic de Cameroun lies the town of Dishang, where roads are meticulously maintained and infrastructure is a testament to the government's investment in the region. The La Republic de Cameroun Ministry of Public Works takes pride in ensuring that every road is paved, every pothole is filled, and every journey is smooth. Just across the border, in the Amazonian town of Libialem, the story is starkly different. The roads are a nightmare, potholed and grumbling, making every journey a test of endurance. The residents of Libialem can't help but feel that they are being deliberately neglected, that their town is being left behind while Dishang and other Francophone and French towns receive all their attention. The contrast between Dishang and Libialem is a potent symbol of the marginalization of Ambazonians and the Paul Biya's regime in Yaoundé. It seems more interested in consolidating power than in serving the needs of all citizens. The people of Libialem feels like second-class citizens forced to endure substandard infrastructure while the colonial government lavishes attention on the French areas and zones. As the people of Libialem navigate their treacherous roads, they are reminded of the struggles they faced for decades. They are crying out for change, for a complete ousting of La Republic de Cameroun's colonial government, for the Amazonian government that will listen to their needs and invest in their community. But until that day comes, they will continue to suffer the consequences of neglect and marginalization. The fight for independence is a genuine cause for a better Ambazonia. The people of Libialem are asking why they can't enjoy the same level of infrastructure as the people of Dishang. Why are their roads neglected, their schools underfunded, and their hospitals understaffed? The answer, it seems, lies in the systemic marginalization of Ambazonians. The story of Dijang and Libialem is a call to action, a reminder that the struggle for equality and justice is far from over. The people of Libialem, and indeed all Ambazonians, deserve better. They deserve roads that are safe, schools that are well funded, and hospitals that are adequately staffed. It is time for the region to create, for Ambazonians to champion their development. How else can Ambazonians champion their development when they are held on the siege? How can a people champion a development when there are no roads? We remember one time there was the Jean Cliff fall or something in that nature by Mbeseha. We remember how quickly that was fixed. At a point, we compared it to a particular bridge that collapsed somewhere in, I think, the Buea area, and we tried to compare why the Dijan Cliff and this other bridge, which one fell off the first and why this was quickly fixed. And we found out the reason. This, of course, was in the French-speaking area of Cameroun, while this was on the Ambazonian side. And so that explains it. And today, still talking about neglect, we try to do a direct comparison. So if we're talking about the poverty level, which is the first report we had for today, we can see why the poverty level is even higher. I mean, imagine such roads. It's strange. It's scary to actually think that people reside in areas where that is the only accessible motorable roads that are in the Libya axis. And so you wonder if this can be a 66% poverty rate. Barrister Mbeseha, I agree with you, it's actually 80 or even more. But then the comparison, what would you say about this?
Well, the comparison, if there is any, is pitiable. Very, very pitiable. And unfortunately for them, me sitting here happen to come from the BLM. But let us make a bit of correction. The BLM is not a town. No. The BLM is the name of a division. Chang is a town, headquarters of the Mainwa division. The BLM is a division, headquarters called Meiji. But there are two divisions there. The BLM is one of the 58 divisions in the whole place called Cameroon. And as you said, we live, the headquarters of the BLM is Meiji. It's 45 kilometers away from Chang. That's just 30 miles, 45 kilometers. In the United States, will be one town. But the difference in the development and any other thing else is terribly unimaginable. Chang, you mentioned there, it's a big city. In view with all the development that you can imagine. And we're talking about roads. If you step foot in Chang, there's a Buea road from Chang to Bunda. There's a Buea road from Chang to Bafusa. There's a Buea road from Chang to Kongsamba, where you find that thing you call Fale the Chang that you mentioned about. That is Chang, the divisional headquarters. And then back to the road, that track you are showing there, that track was hand dug by the people in 1960. They contributed money out of their pocket to dig that track, which you see, which I've just shown on the video there. The government has never dug any road there. Nothing. They have never constructed any single road there. If anything they're asking for is for them even just to maintain that. That thing was hand dug. You're talking about development. That's the BLM. It's a division. But in the whole of the BLM, in the whole of the division they call the BLM, they don't have any government hospital. They had one, which was less than anything else. It has closed down because of the war. Other than that, can find some basic medical facilities there, brought to the people by the Catholic mission, not by the government. And so this is pitiable. Should these people ever be that they belong to the so-called Republic of Cameroon? They may have that belief, but they are daydreaming. Daydreaming because they don't even consider them as part of their own country. If they consider them as part of their own country, why would their own rule be like that? People that are basically farmers, they cut the road with their hands. The government is unable to maintain it. Fine, they could maintain the road themselves. But what is very, very disappointing is the tale of the lies the government will tell about that very thing. And since you are showing the road, it is an earth road. It is rainy season. They cannot complain that the rains are falling now. Because in July, this very July coming, because the new elections were coming up, in July, they sat in Yaoundé and fabricated a document and claimed that they were giving that very piece of road there, beyond, right to Bakebe 60 kilometers, that they had deployed, that giving a budget of 500 million to repair that road. That was in July, 500 million. It signed there, it was signed on the 21st of July, that they are giving 500 million to do maintenance of that road. We are now almost October. That road that was maintained with 500 million. That's not the end of it. 2 weeks ago, the CPDM representative there came out and told the people that the government had added another 500 million. That's now between July and now, 1 billion to maintain that very road there for the people of Liberia. Well, we're not lying, everybody can see it. They themselves cannot even go there. There's no road there. There's nothing there. What they used to have there are schools created on paper. GSS this, the government has school this, created by some minister on there, where the people went and put up the buildings, created the school, build the schools for themselves. And of course, those schools are all gone. There's nothing left there. The BLM is a pitiable story. The BLM is just one. We have talked about Indian before. We have talked about many other places in Ambazonia. 2 weeks ago or last week, we were talking about Kupe Manenguba. Kupe Manenguba are neighbors to the BLM. We saw what happened there. River sweeping away priests. Everything going wrong. Well, in the BLM, the church is there. The strongest people that we have there are the Catholic Church. Can the Bishop of Manfe, under which the BLM is found, tell the world that normalcy has returned, that life is normal in the BLM? If he does so, he's lying himself. We have talked so much about Archbishop Andrew Kia. Andrew Kia comes from the BLM. He hardly goes there because of that road. He comes from there. So when he goes out to say life is returned to normal, everything is okay, he's not lying to you. He's lying to himself. Because that is evidence there. Even whoever, even the blind can see. They can see. Even the deaf can hear the nature of the bad road. And so the question you ask is, why this contrast between the BLM, the division in the southwest, in southwest, what they call southwest, Ambazonia, and meanwhile, a division in the west with all these developments? Is it deliberate? Of course. And for those who don't know history, people who know history, go and research. We were under all German colony, CHAM, that they call today, which I'm mentioning. They created CHAM officially in 1906. The German officials who created CHAM came from Fontaine. They left there to go and form CHAM. And here we are, that's the BLM. And so it is pathetic. That's the reason why we must fight. In 1962, we could cut our own road with our own hands. Today, people could still maintain that road, but they're no longer there. Where are they? They have escaped from war. War they did not bring on themselves. War people brought on them to punish them for being who they are, not because they've done anything wrong. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha. Now, when all of these atrocities, when all of this pain are meted on Ambazonians, when all of this injustice, marginalization are done, what do the people do? They cry out for justice. And so the editorial from the Voice of Ambazonia, dated September 4th, 2025, sharply criticizes the U.S. Department of Justice under President Joe Biden for what it describes as politically motivated and racially biased prosecution of three U.S. citizens of Southern Cameroon's origin, Claude Chi, Nestor Langme, and Francis Chenye, known as the Kansas City Three. This piece argues that the men have been unjustly detained for nearly 3 years in Missouri for raising funds to support communities resisting the Cameroonian government, the French Cameroonian government. It claims their indictment is not about terrorism but a deliberate effort to silence diaspora voices exposing the alleged genocide being carried out by Cameroon's longtime ruler Paul Biya, who is accused of using corruption and foreign influence to suppress dissent with the complicity of Western powers, particularly the United States. The editorial further compares the case to the U.S. government's tolerance of Americans supporting foreign conflicts like Ukraine and Israel, suggesting a double standard fueled by racism and political interests. This editorial accuses the Biden administration of torturing the DOJ into a tool of foreign policy to protect Paul Biya's regime, describing the delays and legal proceedings as a tactic to wear down the accused and force plea deals. It closes with a warning that history will judge Washington's action either as a stand for justice or complicity in genocide, while also condemning France's historical role in propping up African dictatorships like Biya's through exploitation and manipulation. Let's get the audio.
This is the voice of Ambazonia. Truth and resistance, clarity in crisis. Today is Thursday, September 4th, 2025. Today's editorial is titled Biden's Department of Justice, Washington's Weapon to Protect Biya's Bloody Dictatorship. For nearly 3 years, 3 U.S. citizens of Southern Cameroon's origin, Claude Chi, Nestor Langme, and Francis Chenye, all from the great county of Ngoketunjia, have been rotting in pretrial detention in Kansas City, Missouri. They are known as the Kansas City Three. Their crime? Raising money to help their families and communities resist extermination at the hands of Paul Biya's genocidal regime in Cameroon. This is not justice, this is hostage taking. It is Washington doing the dirty job of a foreign dictator. Paul Biya, the decrepit despot in Yaoundé, has perfected a system of corruption that stretches from Paris to London to K Street in Washington. He looted billions, oiled the wheels of silence in Western capitals. Instead of confronting the genocide against Ambazonians, the Biden administration has turned its Department of Justice into a subcontractor for Biya's regime. The indictment of Chi, Langme, and Chenye in late 2022 was not about terrorism or weapons. It was about silencing diaspora voices who dared expose Biya's blood-soaked tyranny. The Department of Justice National Security Division made sure of that. Let us be clear. Americans have gone to Ukraine and fought against Russia. Others openly raised funds for Israel's wars. No prosecution, no raids, no prison cells. But 3 black men of Ambazonian origin, citizens of the United States, are chained to Missouri jails for raising money to buy protective equipment for communities being slaughtered by Biya's troops. This is not law. This is politics. This is racism, foreign influence, and Biden's corruption rolled into one. Even defense lawyers have argued that the 3 are entitled to lawful combatant immunity under international law. Yet, hearings have been dragged out, delayed, and adjourned again and again. Why? To break them, to force a plea deal, to keep Biya smiling and his lobbyists well paid. Sources confirm prosecutors threatened the men with life sentence unless they bowed their heads. This is Biden's America, where the law bends for corrupt business partners abroad and the powerless are crucified to make dictators happy. Had Biya throughout his reign used Cameroon's resources for the betterment of all, he might have ascended the throne as a genuine fund of funds, respected, even revered. Instead, his greed fused with France's manipulative hand that only knows exploitation has turned him into a pariah. And when death finally comes to Buea, it will not be Ambazonians who ridicule him first. It will be the French. They will discard him like used paper, mock his memory, and promptly anoint another lunatic to take the cycle of praise anew. Ambazonia must understand this playbook. France thrives on puppets, and Buea has been their longest serving one. This case is political. The case is corrupt. The case is America's shame. The Kansas City Three must not be sacrificed to protect Buea's decaying dictatorship and Joe Biden's compromised DOJ. History will remember where Washington stood in this hour, with justice or with genocide. Truth in resistance, clarity in crisis. This has been the voice of Ambazonia.
Very sad, but there is a voice and there is a spokesperson. An Ambazonian spokesperson in person of Dr. Martin Mungar is doing the needful. When there is maltreatment, there should be a voice, and the voice has spoken. Injustice should not be tolerated. By Mbeseha. Over to you.
Well, what is said in that message by Dr. Mungwa is important. It tells us a lot about the American justice system. But a lot of what is said there is pure speculation. I'm not saying there is only speculation. Why is it speculation? It is speculation because up to this point, we are talking now 2025, September 4th. The Justice Department has not charged the Kansas City Three formally. We have not seen any indictment. What the prosecutors say, or investigators, they are not a court. No? They don't want to bring them to court, which they should. They should give them a formal indictment so we'll know what they're charging them for. Investigators sometimes use very different and dangerous methods, which is what they are trying to do here. They take you into custody. They frame anything they want to talk about you. And when they have no evidence, because they are supposed to have the facts, when they realize that they have no evidence, they come for plea deal. What is a plea deal? A plea deal is they tell you, look, for example, if you're fighting with your wife or your child, they come and catch you. The woman was crying. They say, okay, you were trying to kill her. We'll charge you for attempted murder, something like that, which is something that can carry you life. And when they realize that your wife is not cooperating with them, one will say, no, we're just pouring over food. They say, what do we do? They come to the poor husband and say, let us make a plea deal. Just plead guilty to this, that you're trying to kill her. And then we would do something for you. You can say, well, it was just a struggle. And then the penalty is that you're fighting in your house. You didn't know that you wanted to kill her. The penalty will be that it was simply a struggle in the house. We'll let you go. But you have pled guilty to that thing. If you don't plead guilty here, we'll charge you for trying to kill your wife. So the best thing we can do is to say that you were struggling with your wife, a scuffle, which is a penalty of 2 weeks or 50,000 or just counseling. And you accept it. That's what they are trying to do to the Kansas City Three. They're just deceiving them. There's no evidence there. What the Biden administration did, which is continuing, the Biden administration left the office almost 8 months ago. It is continuing. It is actually instrumentalizing the Justice Department, politicizing the Justice Department, which is wrong. Under the American justice system, if somebody commits a crime, where he was committed abroad or wherever, bring the person to court, let him face a jury of 12, and then you bring the evidence against him or her. That's the rule. No American law allows you to keep people for eternity, 3-4 years, without bringing them to trial. Once you do that, especially in this particular case, it is clear that it is being done with the cooperation from Yaoundé. It is not you and me saying it. The Yaoundé government has come out to announce that they have our own boys under custody in the United States. It is well known. People in Salai who are working for the government of Cameroun have come out and publicly they announced that they've helped to indict our children, our own men, who coincidentally are Americans. They are Americans first. They are protected by American laws first, before anything else. And so this is great injustice being done to these people. It is great injustice being done to our own cause. Because you said the American system is very, very liberal. They don't allow you to contribute money or help any community around the world which is being oppressed. They permit you even to go there and do it yourself. Israel is just a question point. Ukraine that you mentioned. There are people who have left America, went and joined the army in Ukraine to fight against Russia. American citizens, and come back and they are settling here. And they're even called heroes. And so what's the difference between someone who goes to fight like that, who believes? We don't know. The Ukrainian issues, we can take different sides. We don't know, but they are free to go there. Once they feel that Ukraine is being oppressed, once they feel that the Israelites are being oppressed for whatever reason, they are free to do that. They are protected under American law. Why then not the Kansas City 3? Why? Since when did the American justice system become a third world, a Cameroonian system, which is justice done on the instructions of the administration, not justice done by the rule of law? It is not acceptable. If that, what I know is the American system does not allow that. What I know is that at the end of the day, this gentleman will be vindicated. What I pray for is that vindication is not enough. They have to be compensated for the torture they've gone through. They have lost a lot. Their family people, their wives and children. And so keeping them in jail for 3 years causes a lot of moral, social and moral disservice of their own families. They need compensation. They need financial compensation from the American State Department, the government of the United States. Well, it was done by Trump, by Biden, for whatever reason or not, he represented the American government. They should be compensated, and if need be, the American government ought to apologize to them, because justice must be done. It must also be seen to be done. This is total injustice, glaring injustice. We don't know why. Is it color? We don't know. Is it race? We don't know. Is it politics? We can imagine. But either way, it's wrong. It is wrong. These people deserve their freedom. They deserve compensation for what they've gone through. And in addition to that, they deserve the apology of the American government. Let it be today, under Trump, after Biden, or tomorrow, after the next president takes over from Trump. They deserve something from the American government. Because the American government is continuous. What is going on now, Trump bears responsibility. It is under his guard. If he earns it, if he doesn't earn it, the next person will bear responsibility for that under the American system. Because they are supposed to represent the American system. Once you fail America. America has to pay the price. And so, justice first, individual freedom first. Let these people get free and get back to their families. And then compensation next for whatever thing they have suffered. A good lawyer will handle that. But for now, that is our appeal. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha. But that's not only the report we have when it comes to speaking out for injustice. Also here, the stubborn reality plagues the Yaoundé Central Prison, where inmates, particularly those labeled as Ambazonians, have been detained for over 5 years without a fair trial. One inmate who wishes to remain anonymous shared their harrowing experience, revealing the systemic injustice that have led to a growing crisis. The inmate's case has been repeatedly adjourned due to the consistent absence of a complete panel of judges at the military court. This is not an isolated incident. Many Ambazonians arrested in connection with the crisis have been held in the same prison since 2017, with their cases languishing in the military court system without any just judgment. The source claims that a significant number of these prisoners are innocent, held without clear reasons for their kidnap. Despite regularly attending colonial court sessions, they are not being judged, leading to severe mental and emotional distress. The inmate's last court appearance was cancelled due to the judge's absence, further compounded the frustration of being held for over 5 years and counted without a verdict. The justice system in La Republic of Cameroon is notoriously slow, leading to overcrowding in most detention facilities. Well, according to World Prison Brief data, 55.5% of prisoners in La Republic of Cameroon are still awaiting trial, highlighting the dire need for reforms. The plight of Ambazonian detainees in La Republic of Cameroon dungeons is a stark, deep reminder of the need for a fair and functional justice system. The international community and the human rights organizations must take notice of this crisis and demand action from La Republic of Cameroon government to address the systemic injustice faced by these individuals. The colonial government must prioritize the rights of every citizen, ensuring that justice is served and that detainees are treated with dignity. The world is watching. The world is actually watching. Even if we're still waiting for when the action will come, we believe that the world is watching. We believe that they are seeing this injustice. Bryce Mbeseha, imagine people being detained without any form of trial, still waiting for trial, and they've been waiting for at least 5 years and counting. I'm just wondering what their mental and emotional state would be like, and nothing is done about it. And so when Dr. Mungo is speaking out for the injustices in America, and he's also trying to say even those at home are faced with the same injustice, it almost seems like it is intertwined. Would you agree? Would you disagree?
Well, I think I don't know where to start analyzing this issue of people in Kondengi. Those people in Kondengi, which is just one of the several prisons, but let us take Kondengi for one and analyze their situation. Now, in Kondengi, we have a number of prisoners. Some we call the high-profile prisoners. Those ones include Sisiku and the Nara 10. They include people like Abdul Karim. Those are the ones that their names are mentioned. Besides that, the rest that you are talking are just dumped there. They were not brought there legally. They were purely adopted. Nobody who is in Kondengi was served a warrant of arrest. Their arrest was illegal, therefore it was an adoption. Once the state becomes a state that adopts on its own citizens or people around the world, their own country, and dump them in jail, they can tell what it is. We talk about justice. When a matter is adjourned 10 times, 5 times, for whatever reason, what are these people doing there? These people, in the majority, 99% of them, were adopted somewhere from the Anglophone, they call it, northwest or southwest, what we call Ambazonia. They were simply adopted from there and taken to Yaoundé. They were not soldiers fighting anybody. And so they were taken to Yaoundé to be tried in a military tribunal, which everybody, including Cameroun, has condemned that is outlawed. If they needed to be put in military tribunals, which they were not supposed to. Why were they not tried in Buea? There's a military tribunal in Buea. Why were they not tried in Bamenda? There's a military tribunal in Bamenda. But they had to be taken to Yaoundé so that they could instruct the judge, don't go to court today. If you go to court today, give this sentence that we want. We can always look at it this way to justify what I'm saying. You remember they went to Nigeria and abducted Sisiku or his team and brought to Yaoundé and purportedly charged them. One of the charges against the Naira 10, which has been the funniest charge I ever imagined in my life, was that the people did not carry Cameroon national identity cards. Really? They should have been carrying Cameroon national identity cards in the Naira Hotel in Abuja. Nonetheless, they were found guilty, sentenced to life. So what do you expect from this type of courts? It's not that the world is not aware. The world is aware. All of us are aware. Our greatest surprise is why the world has kept its own eyes closed to this. They see and they pretend not to see. They hear and they pretend not to hear. Is this education necessary? We have talked about this probably in Yaoundé. This has been reported a million times over. What do you have in Yaoundé? In Yaoundé, you have, for example, the American embassy. We have the French embassy, United Kingdom embassy. All the embassies are put in Yaoundé there. In that very Yaoundé, we have the apostolic pronouncing. That's the ambassador of the Pope. Are they aware of this? Of course. Besides the ambassador, we have all these bishops. The people from where they were adopted, most of them from the north, we have the prelates, we have the archbishops there. They know some of these guys by name. And so they are seeing this thing, they have the voice to speak, but they are not speaking. They haven't talked against evil. That is why somebody will go to sing Gongo at the presidency in Italy and tell them the Catholic Church will accompany you for peace before, during, and after the presidential elections. Is it not outright lies coming from a blessed mouth of a bishop? It's outright lies. It's outright lies. Who believes in that talk? That even the blindest of all the people in the world will see peace in Cameroon by extension during an election where they are adopting people in the streets for coming to listen to the judgment given by the by the constitutional court, the cashew, and go and lock you up. In the eyes of everybody, including the bishop, the priest, the catechist, and you and me. And then the very bishop will come there the next day. They say, in spite of catching these people there yesterday, we accompany you during, that's the one they are catching people, after, when they will arrest people, the elections. Is it double standard? I don't think there's no standard. There is total absence of standards. It is total absence of human morality. Because behind these individuals, bishops, priests, prefect, they are human beings. They have blood flowing in their own veins. And so that's why Christ needed to transform his own son. God needed to transform his own son, Christ, into a human being, where you have the human blood flowing in him, to send him to earth here. Who will come and tell Herod what you are doing is wrong? Who will tell whoever was doing this is wrong? But these people have failed us. Back to the Konenge thing. Don't expect any justice from there. Because from day one, what they have done to them was unjust. They simply adopted them. They acted against the law. The process itself is wrong. They are putting civilians before a military tribunal. It's illegal. It is wrong. But in the face of all this silence, in the face of all this complicity from people who ought to speak out against, what do we do as Ambazonians? We are left with no option but to resist, to fight. Resist any form that you can. Fighting does not mean carrying guns. If you don't have a gun, you resist. And the most powerful weapon we have is peaceful resistance, which is marked by, for example, ghost town, Monday ghost town, lockdowns. Peaceful resistance, which is marked by our refusal to go and take part in the elections. Stay in your home. When they come there, the campaign, stay. The man who came there will realize that he came out in the field, nobody came out. You go back with the lesson in his mind. This election, people have rejected it. Don't pretend to come out there just because, like in the last segment, you are so hungry. Somebody will give you a loaf of bread and a tin of sardine. Well, you might take it, but eat it in the morning, by evening, you'll be hungry. So let us resist, do what we can. But at the very least, right now we have some guidelines. We have what we call the government in exile. We're doing our best to educate everybody to see what is going on, to let you know at least you're right. If they can maim you, if they can beat you, if they can starve you, they cannot force you out of your house unless they come and break the door. Stay home when it is necessary. Manage yourself. We will fight and fight until the Lord will come to our own assistance. Over to you.
All right, everyone, just try to hold on and manage yourself. While we are still on the marginalization struggles and the injustice struggles, while French Cameroun celebrates a new $8.5 million South Korean aid package for education in its East region, the colonial government plays dumb and turns a blind eye to southern Cameroon, currently being ravaged by an 8-year-long war. In southern Cameroon, schools remain shut and a generation of children is being denied an education. The funfair around a new 3-year project with UNICEF and COICAR looks more like a smokescreen for the colonial government's utter failure. Launched with much celebration, this initiative, they claim, aims to improve schools in regions La Republic of Cameroon officials claim is a priority. Right? Yet, the same government that champions education's rights there has overseen the total collapse of the educational system in British Southern Cameroon. In war-hit Ambazonia, education is on its knees. Over 60% of schools have been closed, leaving hundreds of thousands of children with no access to a classroom. Students and teachers face constant threats. Many have been kidnapped or even killed, while imposter armed groups enforce a school boycott. The French Cameroon's government's own military actions have contributed to the terror, with schools buildings burned to the ground. As a result, teachers have fled, leaving a critical shortage of educators. Beyond the war in education, the region is plagued by a complete breakdown of law and order. Residents live in constant fear of violence and extortion from military thugs. Colonial soldiers at military checkpoints have been documented torturing and extorting residents, carrying out arbitrary killings, and even essential services have crumbled. Lack of reliable power has led to prolonged blackouts, and the Ambazonians have no navigable road nor potable water. Critics call this aid package a distraction from the French government's role in the ongoing humanitarian disaster. While colonial officials talk of safe and inclusive environments for children in the East, students in Ambazonians have lost years of schooling. And so, Barrister Mbeseha, this would make you wonder and ask, this aid, is it for just a particular region? If the French is saying that this is for, the aid is for destabilized people, people who suffer the most, which people should even get it in the first place? And so if this marginalization is clear, if they believe that they do not want Ambazonians anymore, while still hang on to them, take what belongs to them, take what they need, and starve them of every other thing that they can get.
Well, the point here is this. They're talking about aid. They're talking about aid from South Korea. Educational aid from South Korea to who? Just that, to who? Who could imagine in 1961, when we got our independence, that 60 years down the road, we'll be asking for aid from South Korea, any form of aid, they will be asking for aid from South Korea. Education-wise, we are better than that people. Let us be reminded that by 1961, education-wise, we were not the least in the world. All of us know something. That school was opened in 1938. 1938. It was open, was the first to be opened. The next one that was open was in Yaoundé, they said the clerk. But that was not in 1938, it was 1940 something. And so why do we need to ask for aid? For anything's sake, what do we need aid for? And we are showing UNICEF there. We're asking aid from UNICEF to come and help schools in Cameroon in general and Ambazonia in particular Why? Why? What do we lack? Honestly speaking, people should be coming to ask for aid from us. I've said this many times before. We did not join Cameroun, if we did, to ask for aid, to dig roads, to build schools, to pay teachers. That was never and has never been the goal. We are rich enough to give other countries aid, financial and otherwise. We are educated enough to export our own children to go and work in Korea as experts in different fields of life. We don't need aid from Korea or anywhere else. But they have branded this thing aid. Why? Because they want to steal. They have branded this thing aid. Why? Because in 2019 they came out with some program. What do they call it? Reconstruction of the so-called Northwest and Southwest. Which reconstruction includes schools. It includes rebuilding those classrooms that they have destroyed. But when they go out and get the money under reconstruction, which they borrow, which they are taking as aid or any form, they come and divert the money. The schools in Ambazonia are still standing in the bushes there. There's nobody going out there. And what are they doing with the aid from Korea? They are giving it to the people they want. Given that they have stolen their own money, if they have aid to distribute, where is our own share of the aid? Was it last week? We saw a video here where a certain Dio, Prefect in Kumba, turned down somebody with the cutlass cutting the bush, trying to fell trees to open a school. That's the shape there. We saw videos of people in Kupe Manegomba, in Guti, felling trees with their own cutlasses to make schools survive. We saw all these things with our own naked eyes. And we ask ourselves, where is the reconstruction which they have titled themselves in Ambazonia, bringing school back? How will schools come back? That's UNICEF. UNICEF is giving them that aid, or at least through UNICEF. They have not asked the question, I don't know whether they have. Why are the schools in Mandamba, Indian, not functioning? I saw in the news yesterday, in the news in Cameroon, the teachers in Bakassi, they are launching this academic year there this week. I think they have launched it today or yesterday. And the teachers in Bakassi came out and said, we're not going to those schools. We're not going back there. These are government teachers. Why? Because when they were sent to Bakassi, they were promised risk allowance. The government knew that was a risky area. They promised the risk allowance. If you accept to go and teach in Bakassi, we'll give you some small extra money. They have never given anything. The schools in Indian are non-functional, but Indian is peculiar, very peculiar, because politically Indian has produced us the prime minister. Financially, Indian has produced the oil that they have stolen all along. And so, what else do we expect from this regime? Promises, promises. I just said in the last segment, we shared a road linking Cham with Fantan or Menji. That is the road. That is supposed to be their own road. Where is the money? There's no money. What have they done? They have gone out to produce a piece of paper and said they are giving $500,000,000, that's 500 million, to repair that road. Who is lying? Who? If there's nothing wrong with us, then there's something wrong with us seriously that we cannot see. If we don't see these bare facts. Again, aid from Korea, aid from France, which they themselves told us. They came to Bamenda. We're giving aid to so many billions to fix the roads. The aid does not come. So the language of aid is deceitful. It's just falsehood. They're trying to hide their own wickedness. They steal the money, they punish you, and the goal is to get you subdued, to accept and never to complain anymore. If you complain, they catch you. If you complain, they kill you. If they complain, they do whatever thing they want to do to you. Enough is enough. We don't need aid from Korea. We don't need aid from anywhere else. We need independence. We have enough money to manage our own resources, build our own schools, dig our own roads, do whatever we want. We have more than enough for that. Rather, we will, in the real time, give aid to the Republic of Cameroon as good neighbors. We would support them financially as good neighbors, but don't expect anything from them or throw them to come to us. They're just lying to themselves. They're lying to us. They're lying to the donors. What to you?
Well, as much as they would lie, the people can see. You cannot lie to the people all the time. All away from the lies, we have seen cases of abduction, and it seems to be back to the system. Because the story says that two young women, Tanto Mildred, who is 19 years, and Tanto Berry, who is 17, have been missing from their home in Buea since Wednesday, August 27, allegedly lured away by their neighbor. Now, the incident, now being treated as a human trafficking case, has been widely regarded as an example of how the colonial government's failure to secure borders has turned communities into hunting grounds for traffickers. The disappearance of the two girls is causing public outrage, with many accusing the colonial government for allowing its borders to become porous and penalizing the vulnerable Ambazonian population. According to their family, the girls were allegedly lured away by their neighbor from a neighboring country in collaboration with a female associate, coercing them into fleeing to other countries. Neighbors reported hearing a disturbance from the suspect's apartment at 4 a.m. last Wednesday, the day the girls disappeared. Again, this incident has exposed the French Cameroon's government's indifference to the safety of Ambazonians. And as human trafficking rings exploit and the chaos and lack of security that has plagued the Ambazonian environs for years, the driver who transported the suspects and the girls stated they were unaware of the trafficking, showing how easily such crimes can be committed in a lawless environment. While the French police now claim to be actively investigating, this response comes a little too late. The parents who initially believed their daughters had simply gone to fetch water are left without answers. Anyone we hear with possible helpful information is pleased to contact the father of the girls through the numbers on the screen: 6735 71173 are the numbers you're asked to contact the parents on. Barrister Mbeseha, whichever case we want to look at this, some may say, oh, probably they went to look for greener pastures. Some may say, oh, we agree it's trafficking. Whichever is the case, you realize it's because of the poorer situation, the hard, difficult life that they have been subjected to. Those girls should have been desiring to go to school. A 17, 19-year-old girl should want to further her education if she's done with the first and second level. And so if you find girls who are looking for how they would get greener pastures or who can be lured or coerced, it's simply because there is a faulty foundation. You can imagine the parents thinking that they are going to fetch water. At this age and time, our water not supposed to be running within the community. If the water is not being found in the house or premises that they reside, within a particular environment, are they supposed to travel a mile to fetch water? So you can imagine that when the basic amenities are not there, people get lost for the simplest of things. For the simplest of things. And this just goes to show how painful, I mean, when you go through all of our reports for tonight, you will see how painful these reports are. Reports of injustice, reports of marginalization, and results of marginalization as well. Barrister Mbeseha, what's your take?
Well, my take is multifunctional, multifactional. In fact, there's a blame for everybody there. If the story as you tell there is correct, everybody bears a big share of the blame. If it is in Buea and they go to fetch water, I live in Buea. There's no water in Buea. The residents of Buea don't travel 5 kilometers to go fetch water. They don't do that. At least not that far. If those children are 17 and 19, as is put there, if they are 17 and 19, they are reasonably of age. They have finished high school or on the verge of finishing if they are not yet in the university. So they are not babies who can be adopted that way. They are children who can move themselves up and down. They can operate a phone. They can operate a laptop. They can do all that. And so the first blame goes to the parents of the children. Your security is yours first before you blame someone else. If you live at home with your daughter, 17, 18, those are already big girls, and you don't see them for a number of hours, that raises an alarm. You don't keep quiet. Don't keep quiet. If you don't raise an alarm, you blame everybody, but you blame yourself first. We don't know where they are. May well be, it's possible that those children are just hiding somewhere in Buea, in a boyfriend's house. Somewhere, that is a possibility. So the primary responsibility goes to the parents. The second responsibility is just speculative. Buea is far away. The facts are clear. Those facts are clear. They were in a neighbor's house. They heard them in a neighbor's house. They know the neighbor. And so if they raised alarm, has this neighbor just become the heir and disappeared? No. So these are well-known facts that could be used to trace them. But Cameroon's system being what it is, they will never do it. They will rather cooperate to steal. Otherwise, how could young children of that age, 17, 19, be in their house? They hear you talking in your house. How many years did they go to carry water in that house? How many hours did they remain there carrying water, fetching water, or whatever thing they're doing? What were they doing there? These are ongoing affairs. What were they doing there? The parents have to answer this question. But assuming that they were adopted, if they raised an alarm, you talk about going abroad. Buea doesn't have any way access where you have to travel a distance to go to where you fly or to go to where you will take a boat to escape. And so Buea is far away inland. And so if the correct alarm was raised and the correct security was there, they will be able to prevent such going. But the worst of it is not told yet. In Cameroon, you don't just traffic people, you also traffic human parts. Who knows? In the worst case scenario, the children can still be exported in parts where you not identify them. They can be put in the box. They can be put like cargo and shipped somewhere else. And so it requires a lot of vigilance for parents. No Ambazonian parent should let that happen to you. If you bring all your children correctly, if it was one will understand. It requires a lot of planning for two big girls to move away. They cannot just be kidnapped, they can shout. Go to greener pastures. You could. But at that age, you don't know what you're doing. This people venture to go out like that, I think, it should be people who have attained some maturity in age, in experience. Not 17-year-old children. Should be adults of 20-something, 25 and 30, who know what they are doing. Not children of 17, 18. They did not lack schools. In Buea, there are failed government schools, but they are there. In Buea, there are private schools if you have the money. And so again, my advice to families is, your security is yours. The security of your children is yours. Don't keep a blind eye to those things and then tend to blame someone else tomorrow. Ambazonians should know that security, their own security and their family is theirs. They will not count on the government because the government does not exist. If it does exist, it is so inefficient. So Be sure that you know the red lines. Be sure that you know the dangers. You know the signals. When your child cannot come back after 2 hours, the next day they will not come back after 5 hours. The next day they will sleep out, especially girls of that age. Again and again, the security is yours. Blame somebody else, but blame yourself first. If they are not there, raise the alarm first. If the police will not come, your neighbor who saw that child in our house will say, we saw them moving that way. The third person will see them. They will no longer go. They will no longer be missing. And so that's the responsibility. That's a fair way I can look at it. Yes, again, don't count on anything government because it's not there. If it is there, it is so inefficient. Take the security into your own hands. Secure yourself. Secure your children. Secure your loved ones. That's the best security you have for yourself. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha. Before I let you go tonight, on Saturday, Dungan Manchun is drafting. And as usual, before every draft day, we usually, encourage the people and let them know, just in case they are not aware, that they are drafting on Saturday. So Dungan Manchun is drafting on Saturday. What do you think we would expect from Dungan Manchun?
Oh, we expect marvelous performance. The history has shown as we progress down the road in drafting that the drafting is only increasing, it's improving, not deteriorating. Just take the last two examples. The last two cycles, we drafted Momo, which we thought was completely lost. We were able to make at least $16,000. The next draft following Momo was Mbeseha, that was delayed and delayed, but it came to pass. We raised more than Momo. So it shows that the people are increasingly coming on board. We don't expect anything different in the next draft. We shall succeed there. Come in and help the Dungan Manchun. Dungan Manchun like Mbeseha. Dungan Manchun like Momo. Dungan Manchun like Fako. Any other county is part of Ambazonia. We shall draft. No county will be left behind. Not 1 inch of our land. Not any single citizen of Ambazonia will be left behind. All hands on deck. We'll do better and we'll eventually release or free ourselves from this imprisonment. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha. And this only explains that we'll definitely see you on Saturday for this week on Ambazonia, and of course the draft proper. Thank you so much for being part of tonight's Undaunted. Thank you so much for always coming through for us. Nice.
Thank you for having me.
When we return from the break, we'll head to Sudan, where Sudan's landslide tragedy has risen up to 1,000 feared dead after a village was buried in Darfur Mountains. A catastrophic landslide struck the remote village of Tarazin in Sudan's western Darfur region on the 31st of August. Following days of intense rainfall, around 100 bodies have been recovered so far, but local sources fear the death toll could climb to 1,000. The village, located in the rugged Mara Mountains, was buried under tons of earth, leaving survivors scrambling for help with no immediate assistance in sight. The Sudan Liberation Movement Army, which controls the region, described the disaster as unprecedented, with entire family reportedly wiped out due to the area's remotedness and poor infrastructure. Accurate information about the scale of the tragedy has been difficult to confirm. Eyewitnesses say the landslide occurred with little warning, sweeping through homes and flattening large sections of the village. Humanitarian efforts have been severely hindered by extreme weather and flooding. Roads are submerged, bridges destroyed, and villages filled with water, blocking all ground access to the area. International agencies, including the United Nations and Plan International, have so far been unable to reach Tarasen. What we are trying to do right now is reach that area, said Marjimad Hussain, who Plan International Regional Response Manager. Unfortunately, no international humanitarian or UN agencies have been able to get there yet due to floods, submerged roads, and flash flooding in the valley. Satellite images suggest widespread destruction, while survivors continue to search for loved ones using basic tools and bare hands. There is no heavy machinery available, and communication with the outside world remains limited, further complicating the emergency response. The tragedy comes amidst broader humanitarian challenges facing Sudan, including ongoing conflict, mass displacement, and economic instability. With more rain expected in the coming days, aid organizations are calling for urgent international support to prevent further loss of lives and to assist in long-term recovery efforts. That's it for news across Africa. When we return right after this short break, we would head to Afghanistan, where earthquake toll nears 1,500 as aid agencies warn of critical shortages. The death toll from Sunday's devastating earthquake in Afghanistan has climbed to nearly 1,500, with fears that the number could rise significantly in the coming days. Taliban officials provided the latest figures on Thursday, stating that thousands more have been injured and entire communities reduced to rubble. Approximately 3,400 people have sustained injuries, while close to 7,000 homes were destroyed following the earthquake and subsequent aftershocks. Humanitarian agencies on the ground are sounding the alarm over rapidly dwindling resources for critical needs such as food, shelter, and medicine. The World Health Organization warned that the crucial window to rescue survival is closing quickly, says every hour counts. A WHO spokesperson emphasized urging for immediate international support to prevent further loss of lives. Despite the scale of the disaster, only a few countries have so far pledged financial assistance, leaving many traditional donors notably silent. This lack of response is being felt acutely by relief organizations, which are struggling to meet even the most basic needs of the displaced. The International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies describe the humanitarian situation as vast and growing rapidly, complicating the agency's response in Afghanistan's fragile infrastructure, which remains severely underdeveloped after decades of war and instability. Poor roads, limited communication networks, and a lack of medical facilities are hampering rescue efforts, especially in remote areas where the full extent of the devastation is still unknown. Since the Taliban's return to power in 2021, international aid to Afghanistan has declined sharply. This year, only 28% of the UN humanitarian funding target for the country has been met. Aid groups warn that without a significant increase in funding, efforts to provide life-saving assistance could collapse together. As rescue workers race against time, calls are growing louder for the international world to step up, with thousands of families now homeless and vulnerable to disease, hunger, and further aftershocks. The need for a coordinated and well-funded humanitarian response has never been more urgent. That's it for tonight's Undaunted. Before we go, let's take a look at the major headlines. Tonight on Undaunted, we talk about the Ambazonian war plunging southern Cameroons into deliberate misery. Also tonight, we told you that the tale of two towns, Disheng and Libyan roads, are of no comparison, while the voice of Ambazonia is sending a strong message to the U.S. Department of Justice. Also, Ambazonian detainees languish in La Republic de Cameroon dungeons after years of incarceration without trial. Tonight, we told you that the French Cameroon uses war aid to max war atrocities in Ambazonia, while French Cameroon's government border neglect fuels human trafficking in Buea. We went to Sudan, where the landslide tragedy has killed 1,000 people, while in Afghanistan, earthquake toll has gotten to the number of 1,500. That's it for tonight's Undaunted. Bringing to the news untold stories. On behalf of Barrister Mbeseha, our in-house analyst, and a team of technicians behind tonight's production, it's good night and God bless.